there's the Hong Kong pro-democracy movement. You're seeing protesters and activist groups in the city of Hong Kong really addressing their concerns. We covered this actually on last Wednesday's show.
Oh, was this on last Wednesday's show?
Yeah, but this is an updated story. But
no, 2 Wednesdays ago.
Yeah, 2 Wednesdays. Yeah, that's right.
I was like, we did? I was like, how do I not remember that?
So it was last week's Wednesday show, and what we were saying in the show is like, look, people need to step up if they want to fight for a better future.
We talked about the Sudan last week.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, no updates on that story yet. I did look.
Right.
So hopefully soon.
So the thing is, with this movement though, you're seeing people stepping up, trying to fight for a better future, and this is what we need to do. But what's going on? What are the updates?
So, as many of you remember, and many of you may not know, in May, massive demonstrations had started across Hong Kong, where millions of people, they were reporting 1 in 7 people were pouring into the streets of Hong Kong to demonstrate their response to a proposed extradition law that the mainland China is imposing on Hong Kong, which basically says that, they can take citizens from Hong Kong out of Hong Kong to prosecute them, and opponents say the law could be used against critics of the pro-Beijing government in the semi-autonomous territory. So, updates.
Okay.
On Monday of this week, the 22nd anniversary of the city's handover from the United Kingdom to China, protesters stormed the government complex. They were smashing windows, spray painting graffiti on the inner chamber, and defacing portraits of unpopular Hong Kong leaders. Yeah.
I can imagine if we did that in City Hall in Chicago, Rahm Emanuel's picture would not even stand out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of not mad at them.
No, I'm not either.
Protesters occupied the building for several hours until riot police emerged in the force about midnight and fired tear gas to clear the streets. They then quickly retreated from the ransacked building. So the break-in marked a significant escalation on an otherwise peaceful day that drew an estimated 550,000 people to march in the streets to protest against the extradition bill. Hong Kong's embattled Beijing, this article says backed, but she was actually appointed, leader Carrie Lam called a pre-dawn press conference to condemn the actions of the protesters. This violence, she says, and lawlessness has seriously affected the core values of Hong Kong's legal system. I feel very indignant and saddened by this and want to strongly condemn it. I believe that the public feels the same. Lam suspended the extradition proposal last month and has indicated it would not be revived, but that has not been enough for demonstrators. They insist that she scraps it entirely and that they are also now demanding her resignation. Protest leaders are saying that Carrie Lam is trying to turn the tables and trying to shift public opinion, focusing on our young offenders and saying that they are to blame.
Wow.
So that's what's going on right now. A lot of the protest leaders are saying that they're afraid that this may have harmed their movement, but they are going to continue to press forward and continue to insist on their, what they're proposing.
Okay, so on the one hand, I kind of understand where some of the leaders are saying this hurt their movement, but on the other hand, why are people reacting this way towards, some of the Beijing-backed officials, and especially some Hong Kong elected officials that people are angry with because they're not being represented by their local government. And of course, it's a much more intense political situation because at one point, Hong Kong was a territory owned by Great Britain, and then it was again handed over to China. And there was this assumption that Hong Kong would have some form of sovereignty. It would be part of China.
One country, two system standard was what they called it.
Yeah, but obviously that's not the case, and the people are feeling cheated, and they want their voices to be heard, and they're going to react in a way in which it's going to defend something that they've known for their entire life. So you have generations of people living in Hong Kong that are used to their political system, their democracy, and look, everything requires people to be involved in it, and when you have a system that's not acknowledging people or their wants or needs or their concerns, you will get pushback. You are going to get a response. And this is something that a lot of democracies need to realize, especially governments that are going to be implementing policies that may not be popular. People will say something. There's only so much a person can take until they say enough is enough. Look, I would say to some extent, not comparing it to Hong Kong, but our 2019 election here in the city of Chicago was, I guess, somewhat of a decent response. I would have liked it if there was a much more voter involvement, but look at what happened to the city council and the very fact we have Mayor Lori Lightfoot in charge. I mean, majority of the city voted for Lightfoot overwhelmingly. We have now 10% of the city council has progressives and independents, especially those that are backed up by the Democratic Socialists of America. So the very fact that, you know, we have something like that here in the city of Chicago, which was once thought of as impossible, is a response of people getting tired of a system that's not representing them. And what's happening in Hong Kong, it's not going to go away.
Right.
I mean, that's an emotional response to where people are saying enough is enough.
Absolutely. And the powerful are never just going to hand over power.
No.
The powerful will hold, they'll white knuckle that until they until they can't. Right. Not even until they, until they just absolutely cannot.
I would compare this also to our time in Wolfpack when we were fighting to get SJR 42 passed. And I remember our battle cry. We were going to make sure that the House representatives in the state of Illinois, the state senators, were going to realize that we weren't going to go anywhere. And it was just 20 of us, dedicated 20 volunteers, that made it happen. So if 20 people can get the state of Illinois, the fourth most corrupt state in the United States, especially way back in 2015, to pass a resolution.
And I think Illinois is the hardest state to pass the resolution.
Yes. You need a supermajority in the Senate and House. The very fact that we pulled that off shows that something can be done. But can you only imagine if more Americans got involved in their political system at the city level, county level, state level, and federal level? Things could get done. You got to make your voices heard, and we should take a page. We should be taking notes from the people of Hong Kong. Now, again, ransacking a building, it's not the right thing to do. But why did it happen? Why did it happen? People do things for a reason, not just because. It's that building represents something to people, and they felt that they weren't being represented.
I think back on the Occupy movement and seeing the footage of it and even being in it, and really I thought that the Occupy movement would get to this level. I imagined that, actually, and we never did.
It was shut down right away. And who was the president at the time?
Oh, that was Obama.
Absolutely.
So
everyone was having brunch.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that ultimately this is what happens, and very unfortunately is how I say that. And I think that more and more we're going to see this unrest, not only in Hong Kong, not only in the Sudan, but all across the world. I mean, we saw France's outrage just a couple of months ago as well. Yeah. And for me, there are portions of it that seem a little scary, but I think overall for me, I find this very exciting.
Right.
And I think that it really clears the path for more of these sorts of things to be happening.